This week on Gymwright Live, we interview Gymwright growth specialist and seasoned gym owner Bradley Schneller for part one of a three-part series of Ask Me Anything. For all of you listening to this via podcast, be sure to check out the video version of this interview and the extensive show notes at gymwright.com. And if you're enjoying the show, please leave us a 5-star review and a 5-star rating and a written review. And if you'd like to watch the show live, we record every Friday in the network, which is our free private Facebook group for the motivated gym owners of the world. Join the network today and grow your gym. Okay, back to the show. Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Gymwright Live. I am your host, Marcus Gurzy, and this week we welcome to the show special guest, Gymwright growth specialist and veteran gym owner, Mr. Bradley Schneller. Welcome to the show, Bradley. It's a pleasure to have you on again.
Pleasure to be here.
Awesome, man. Now, as I mentioned during the intro, today's show is part one of a three-part series of Ask Me Anything. I was on a call with our gym growth specialists, yourself, Missy, and Tyler. And there's a topic that kept making its way into our conversation, and that is the huge shift in how everything is done in the gym industry and how it's evolved very much over the past few years. To put it simply, the way we used to promote our gyms, get new members, engage with our members, cultivate a happy and loyal tribe of people who love to train just doesn't cut it anymore. And that's why over the next 3 episodes of Gymwright Live, we will be highlighting each one of you guys and who live in vastly different parts of the country, have different styles of gyms, have specific challenges that you'll be able to relate to, and have been able to survive and thrive before, during, and after the shift. So for those of you watching, be sure to tune in over the coming weeks for Tyler and Missy's episodes as well, as they will have a ton to share. So today, Bradley, welcome in. Excited to have you on. And I've got some questions lined up for you and about your journey in this business. So I'd like to just jump right in. But before we get into the questions here, tell me a little bit about your story and just kind of your journey as a box owner and Gymwright coach here for the last many years.
Yeah, so it's evolved quite a lot over the past 6 years. We started in like a little bitty soccer facility 6 years ago, had about 1,500 square feet. We were surrounded by indoor soccer fields, kids that probably couldn't lift an empty barbell playing lacrosse. And we vastly outgrew that in about 60 days and moved into our current facility now, which is in a strip mall. There's 4 suites in the strip mall, and about every year and a half or so, we decide to go ahead and knock down a wall and overtake the next suite. So now we're in about 3 of those 4 suites. But it's been quite a journey. I really wish that I could go back in time and tell myself 6 years ago what I know today. Of course, none of us can do that, but that's why we're here for you. So a lot of people can learn from our mistakes and start off in a more successful place than, doing the things that we had to do to lead up to this point.
Yeah, it's incredible when you look back at your own journey and you're like, man, I wish I could give myself that advice. But at the same time, at least for me personally, I wouldn't take back any of the bumps and bruises that I gathered along the way, as they are what really give you context today and allow you to make better decisions and understand really what the opportunities or threats and things could look like in our business today. So that said, you guys are located in beautiful New Orleans, Louisiana, and which is a pretty unique part of the country, which I have a question for you on a little bit later in the show. But where I'd like to start is actually with the rebrand. You guys recently rebranded from CrossFit Roux to Roux Fitness. And I know that there are constantly questions in the network about that kind of a rebrand, pros and cons, and things to look out for. So I've got a few questions for you on that. First one being, why the rebrand?
Yeah. It's actually twofold. And we were constantly looking at, how do we grow our business? How do we add additional revenue streams to our business? What can we do outside of these four walls? And then how can we distinguish ourselves from everyone else? We started adding programs, additional programs. We opened a boxing gym. We started a functional bodybuilding class. We started an endurance class. We started classes for triathletes and their programs leading them up to a race. We have the weightlifting classes just like everyone else. We started rowing classes that, simulate spin classes. We have a sculpt class that's, kind of like what most people call a boot camp, just no barbells. And they all took on their own, kind of life that fits specific people that might not necessarily be the people that are right for CrossFit. And so we looked at where we are and who we were and said, if we're going to keep heading down this path and trying to expand our reach in the community, we can't be just known as CrossFit Roux. We need to be known as a fitness center. And that's why we ultimately chose to go from CrossFit Roux to Roux Fitness. There is the small little piece too that we were sick of and tired of people saying that they weren't fit enough to start CrossFit. And so we figured if we took that intimidation factor out a little bit, it would certainly open up the floodgates a little bit for more leads. And it did. And that doesn't say that we're not an affiliate anymore. I always plan to be an affiliate. I feel like we built our gym up to 160, 170 members on being a CrossFit gym. And if I just threw that to the side now, I feel like I'd be doing a disservice to my members.
Sure. Yeah. And what concerns did you have as you were considering the change? I know you guys made the change, I think at the turn of the year. It's end of August, beginning of September now. So we're about 9 months into this thing. But what were your considerations and concerns as you were deciding whether or not you're going to do this?
I mean, some of it was like psychological and unfounded concerns for me. Like, what were some of the other CrossFit gyms in the area going to think about us doing this? Would we seem like less of a hardcore fitness facility and just catering to the masses if we did that? So it was a perception thing to me that at the end of the day, if you are who you are, you just can't worry about that. But it was in the back of my mind. That was a fear, and it was an unfounded fear, something that never came into fruition. The other fear I had was, what would our current members think? Again, I wasn't worried about any future prospects. I'm very sure in myself and what we offer and how we choose to funnel new members into the gym. So that was never a concern. My concern was if we move away from being 100% CrossFit, how would my current members react? And it turns out the way we handle it worked out pretty well. I had a couple of people kind of buck at it, but at the end of the day, they didn't leave. So that leads me into my next question. What was the process? How did you make the transition? Yeah. So we slowly started adding these programs, okay? And we didn't change the name yet. We added some programs. We expanded the class list that we had, the offerings. We gave the old members basically 30-day trials with all these new programs. I've probably given, much like you do a Facebook Live every Friday, I try to do one once a month. It's kind of the state of the Roux at the gym, and I am constantly writing posts to our members about where we're headed as a gym, what we're trying to accomplish, and what does that mean for them. So I kind of set that up leading up to it, and it actually all started not this previous games, but the games before. When I left that and I was thinking what are we doing as a gym? Like, ultimately, what is my goal? Is my goal to get people fit or to get people ready for the games? And the answer is 99.9999% get people fit at your facility. Okay. Mm-hmm. You want to be a successful business owner, and really make it in this industry. That needs to be your goal. Okay. So with that being said, I wanted to kind of change the landscape of our gym, and what we focused on. And so I started making these posts. I started talking to our members, going live. We started adding these additional offerings. And then I finally hit them. You know, it was January of this year. I said, guys, this is the direction of us. This is the direction of where we're going. This is how it benefits you. And I told them, I was like, we're going to have all this different stuff. Okay. We're going to be named Roux Fitness because we have 9 different classes now for you. Okay. I know that some people in the past might have experienced a little fatigue with CrossFit, and you guys had memberships elsewhere to either do yoga or do boxing or, you know, some other TRX class. Well, guess what? You don't have to go anywhere else now if you're tired and need a break from CrossFit. We have these 8 other programs available to you for you to take advantage of with your newly upgraded membership. And then I hit them with a price increase, but worked out perfectly. And I couldn't be happier with where we are now.
Yeah, I think it's been, I think it's actually more in line with the vision that you've had from the beginning with this place, in that it really was it's a fitness facility. You weren't, even though, yeah, you were a CrossFit box. I know, I mean, we've been friends and working together for years at this point. And you've always had this vision that was beyond just running a box. So it's awesome to actually have watched this evolution happen right in front of us and watch you really elegantly make that switch, where I think a lot of people do make the switch for the wrong reason. But how has this change impacted your lead flow or your retention?
Yeah. So from a retention standpoint, it hasn't really impacted it positively or negatively. I'll be honest, if we're doing the things we need to do here on a daily basis with treating our customers with the utmost respect and providing them with the value that they pay for, our retention is great, right? For all the good reasons, none of the bad reasons that people are leaving. In terms of new leads, I find that I'm actually getting people, and they say this to me, hey, I chose Roux because you offer all of these different things. And it just reaffirms why I made this decision. Our leads have definitely went way up. We went from signing, like I thought a good month was 12 to 15 people, additional membership in a month, to months, you know, April, May, June, July, it was a bad month if we only signed up 20. You know, our goals for each month was, hey, we're signing up a day a person. And it seemed like with the switch, of the rebranding that we were able to do that.
And are you marketing the individual programs independently, or are you marketing everything towards Roux as a whole?
Yes. And what I mean by that is that we spotlight the individual programs based off of our social media marketing. But when we advertise, it's an all-inclusive thing. Like, hey, you know, we're the most expensive gym, but here's the reasons why. You get everything. You have, you know, anything you ever wanted to do outside of swimming laps, we have the ability to do that here.
Awesome. And let me see here. What would your words of wisdom be to any affiliate considering rebranding?
It's pretty simple. Like, you need to decide who you are. Like, if you just offer CrossFit, and that's all you do and that's all you want to do, why rebrand? You're a CrossFit gym, you know? Mm-hmm. Crush that niche, you know, because that's what it is. It's a niche. And in the grand scheme of things, I mean, CrossFit is becoming this mega powerful machine right now, in terms of the fitness industry, but there's still like, it's one tiny sector in such a vast industry. Yep. So if that's all you're going to do, stick to it and be proud of it and crush it. Okay. But if you have hopes and dreams of creating a monster facility, and having all these different programs, then you should consider a rebrand. It's just be who you are and advertise who you are. And if it's more than CrossFit, you should consider it. If it's not, you shouldn't.
Yeah, I think I've been asked the question so many times. You know, I'm thinking about dropping the name. What do you think? My question is always why, and then, you know, what do you think you're going to gain from doing this? And in all reality, most of the time, the answer I hear is kind of crazy. They say something to the tune of, well, I'm not really getting the marketing dollars I should from the CrossFit brand anymore or at all. What am I paying for this for? And it's just like, man, you're not getting this at all. They're not supposed to be providing you marketing power. The CrossFit brand, this is a modality that you teach. And if that is what you are, like you said, you're a CrossFit gym, this is what you do. It's going to be pretty difficult for you to stand out as now the non-CrossFit CrossFit gym and without the brand and just going to something like fitness or athletics or whatever with no real good plan to diversify your programs or to do something differently. I don't really see the value, because if you're a box, be a box and lean into it. But if you're not, and like in your case where you really are going wider and providing a much more inclusive service offering set like you are, then it makes perfect sense.
There's another thing that comes with that I've always thought this, and you just kind of reminded me of it, is that the name CrossFit or the brand, it's bigger than any gym that is sitting in the network right now or possibly watching this video. It's bigger than my name, but you shouldn't even probably consider this until you have so much brand awareness in your community that your name alone can stand out. And if your name alone can't stand out in the community, and it's not like, hey, what gym do you go? And people just say Roux or Badger, and they know what that means. You don't have to say CrossFit in front of it. Then you're ready. But like if people are like, well, what kind of gym is that? And they don't know, then you're not ready.
Yep, agreed. Good advice. Okay, next question. And by the way, if you're watching this live and you have any questions for Bradley, feel free to put them into the comments now so we can address them later on in the show. But next question for you from me is, what's it like to own a gym in one of the most infamous party cities in the world? How do you get people interested in health in an area like that?
Well, so the health part is difficult. The fitness part is easy because everyone wants to work out because it thinks that it negates their alcohol consumption, right?
Yeah. Wait, it doesn't?
Yeah, right. So that's the difficult part. So telling them that like, hey, maybe you shouldn't have 5 shots of Jägermeister after you work out, can become a little bit difficult. So it takes a lot of coaxing. I mean, we actually had to, we've been running nutrition challenges at our facility for all 6 years now. We started doing our own challenges, probably the second challenge we ever did, when I realized, like, if you restrict alcohol consumption on a challenge here, no one's going to do it, or everyone is failing in the first week. So, it's how do you fit your culture into your community, and make your fitness community a reflection of your culture. And so for us, we have a lot of fun. We have workouts that involve after parties. Those after parties involve adult beverages, almost always. But the thing about it is, people know we're serious about working out. Like when they come work out at our gym, they realize how serious we are, but we're also serious about having a good time. And my entire message to my team, all 14 of us, is, guys, if our members aren't having a good time here, they're not going to come back. And so that's how I really feel like we separate ourselves from everyone else, is our focus on the experience. And one thing that is if you've ever been to New Orleans, it's about the experience. Locals here will stop you on the street, ask you, are you enjoying your time here? Have you been to this restaurant? Have you done this? Have you drank this? Have you eaten this? And we're similar here. For my staff is constantly asking our members, how was your experience? I'm always, whenever I talk to a member here in passing at the gym, we're having a light conversation. I'm like, how's your experience been? And I use that word specifically, your experience. I don't want to know about how your WOD was or if you back squatted 10 more pounds. I want to know how your overall experience was. And that's a reflection of our community.
Love it. How do you keep your members engaged and loyal to your gym despite being in such a highly competitive area? I know you guys have a ton of gyms surrounding you. Obviously, it's New Orleans. You've got a ton of competition. How do you guys stand out? How do you keep people around?
So, one thing I always try to do is, are we the best in everything we do? Or can we be the best? Are we doing our best? And what I mean by that is the facility as clean as we can possibly make it. Are our members having, the greatest time that they can have? Are they seeing the results that they need to see? Are we providing them with everything that we can possibly provide them that fits in our budget? And it's just little things that we try to do to stand out. Like, I was telling you earlier that customer service is a big part of that. It's the biggest thing that I try to, preach to our coaches and our staff is, guys, if you're not providing excellent customer service, you don't belong on our team here. Okay. We're not running, some high school PE course. Okay. This is not a military boot camp. This is a business. We're going to treat it like a business. And with so many options in the area, if we're not providing that level of experience, or customer, relationship, then they're out. They're going to the next gym, because at the end of the day, we are the most expensive gym in the area. So we can't be the most expensive gym in the area and not provide more value than any other facility.
I think you nailed it with what you just said about relationships. I say this constantly to clients I work with, and I've said it on many of the shows. We're in the relationship business when we run a gym. And if you can tap into that and truly build meaningful, long-lasting relationships with people around real life and real things, and not just a surface level customer service. I am friendly, they're polite, but they can tell that you legitimately care, about them, their goals, and their life. Then now you have something that's worthwhile, and that's really what ends up keeping people around. Because I think you've cultivated a really rich tribe at Roux, and you have that following and you have that buy-in because you authentically care, and they can sense that from not just you but from your whole team.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but this is the timeline of a typical affiliate owner, right? Like, they start their gym, they care about every single person in their gym, they know everything about every single person's life, okay? They're completely involved, they start to care less, they care less, and then all of a sudden they're jaded and don't give a shit about these people anymore, right?
That sounds about right.
And then they're wondering, like, why is my retention so terrible? What happened? But they'll still tell you that they have the best community around, right? Like, that's like the typical affiliate owner, right? Well, what needs to happen is, look, that's going to happen to everybody, because the more you get, turn it into a business, the more you kind of have to remove yourself from that. But what you still have to figure out is, how do I keep my relationships with these members? Well, here's how you do it. You get your staff, your community, to be just as involved with the relationships of your members as you were originally. Mm-hmm. And now your staff becomes an extension of you. You don't have to worry about touching 200 people's lives on a daily basis, as long as your, staff members are doing it.
Mm-hmm. Are you there?
Yep, there. Can you hear me?
Yep. Yeah, agreed. Let me switch gears here. I know you work with your lovely wife. How do you keep work-life dynamics balanced when you co-own the gym with your spouse?
So, when you own a business, right, like, it's not like working for someone, right? Like, when I used to work in the hotel industry, when I got home from work, it was like over, right? I didn't think about that job. I didn't care to think about that job. I could turn my email off or put it on Do Not Disturb, not worry about it. It's a lot harder when you're in the phase of growing your business. So I don't know if we ever really turn it off. And we're constantly, I'm reminding her, like, hey, put your phone down. And she's telling me the same thing, but I know we're both working. We're both trying to accomplish the same thing, but now we're both doing it, not just one of us, it becomes really difficult. What I think that works best between the two of us is we have really split what we do in half. She's in charge of part of the gym. I'm in charge of part of the gym. And what I mean by that is, like, she handles the financials. She handles, creating processes and systems. She sees that the ideas that I create are carried out. She's following up with that type of stuff. She's in charge of all the nutrition programming and all the nutrition coaching in that realm of the gym, where I'm more of in charge of the bigger picture ideas, creating new revenue opportunities, managing the coaches, and pretty much managing membership sales as well.
Got it.
So, and we don't really cross paths. She might ask me a question about everything every now and then, but we have like to-do lists that she creates for me, and which I appreciate it, but I find it works really well. Here's a big difference. I'll say this real quick, is that it is kind of helpful as long as you have a strong relationship with your wife, that you work together in a sense that if I'm upset about something or I don't like the way she's doing something, we can just like have at it and then it's over with. Whereas like if it's an employee, like I might be afraid to say that thing and it could build up a level of anxiety, and now all of a sudden, you're willing to explode. But we'll just like pop, 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 pop right next to each other. I mean, she sits right next to me. But I'll say this, it's really awesome experience too. I couldn't be more thankful that we have the ability to work together as much as we do. It takes, a lot of pressure off of other areas as well, because we get to see each other all day. We hang with each other all day. We work out together. I mean, that's one thing I can't do is coach her though. Like she's getting ready for a powerlifting meet on Monday to try to take back her state championship records in the 125 pound weight class. But I cannot tell her what to do in that because she will bite my head off.
Right on. Bradley, what is your favorite thing to teach your coaching clients about running a better, more profitable gym business?
Yeah, it's kind of exactly what I described earlier. It's all about the experience. One of the things that I always tell my coaching clients is, hey, are you guys doing an icebreaker question before the class? Are you checking in with members that haven't been there? Are you providing social events more than one a quarter? Because these are the things that provide like the extra level of customer experience. And that's the biggest thing. If you provide a great customer experience, and I can't harp on this enough, you will be one of the better gyms in town.
Yep, no question. Love it. Bradley, in one sentence, if you could give one piece of advice to a gym owner, what would it be?
To stay lean for as long as possible. I made the mistake, and I'll happily admit this, of growing faster than what we were actually growing, and biting off more space, more equipment, more expenses than we actually needed. At the time, my wife is a CPA, and she wasn't ready to come on board. We were in the middle of having our kids. It seems every time we make an expansion, we have another kid. That can't happen anymore. But I didn't have her back then to tell me no, or to say, yeah, we're not going to do that, or looking at her budget. And honestly, like when I was in that phase, probably one of my weakest parts as a business owner was the financial aspect of the gym. I had no clue what I was doing. I really didn't. I didn't have any money mapping or projecting, or I didn't even know what a P&L was when I first started. I mean, I did, but like I didn't really know,
Right.
I knew that cash flow was some fancy word.
It's not that fancy.
So I had a credit card and I liked to use it. We had
Fair
some
enough.
awesome equipment. I had a lot of cool gear back then too for myself. Is this piece of equipment you're going to buy bring in new members? Is this new expense that you're going to add to your bottom line going to generate more revenue? and not like generate more revenue 5 years from now or 3 years from now, but generate more revenue right now, like as in next month or this quarter. Because if it's not, then you probably should hold off on it. One of the coolest things that I hear is I actually just spoke to a couple of different Gymwright clients and some of my other clients. I'm going to give a shout out to Rachel Harvey from Amnesty CrossFit right now. She had very little debt, if any, if that's correct, Marcus, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So she's worried about like, oh, I'm only bringing in $13,000 a month in my first year. And I'm like, A, that's awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
B, you have no debt. Like, that's incredible. I'm always jealous, when I hear that. It's something that's rather awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. And, nod to Rachel. She's just getting towards the end of the foundations program now and has been absolutely killing it. I'm really excited for what she's got ahead for herself. So that said, Bradley, where can people find more about you, follow you, etc.?
Yeah, I have a really cool Instagram account that's a lot of pictures of my kid, me, with my shirt off, doing cool things.
With your man bun pre-trim?
And I was in a modeling shoot about a month ago.
Don't lie. Just because you're standing in front of the mirror with your cell phone is not considered a modeling shoot.
So it's at Bradley Schneller on Instagram. I have a really cool Twitter account that mostly trolls sports writers. I talk a lot about fantasy football and basketball. So check that out. That's at Bradley Schneller on Twitter. Same on Facebook. And if you want to check out our gym, it's at Roux Fitness, Instagram and Twitter, and Facebook as well. So.
Awesome. Bradley, thanks for coming on the show today. And always pleasure having you on. And I want to thank all of you motivated gym owners for joining us today. Again, if you are listening to this via podcast, be sure to check out the video version of this interview along with the extensive show notes at gymwright.com. And if you are enjoying the show, please leave us a 5-star rating and written review. Your support means the world to us. If you'd like to watch the show live, you can join the conversation every Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time in the network. Thanks again for your support. Now get out there and build something that matters. We'll see you next week.